have got 3 for you tonight. And Bart, we're going to start with a player that it was interesting because I'm going to sort of set the scene for you a bit on this one because I know this is the player you were thinking, okay, there's a lot to like. This is not one that we're in talks, just to be clear, people. It's imminent, anything like that. The info we got from a few different sources, and as Barts will vouch, one of the best sources we can get as well, is that very much this player has been watched and scouted quite a bit. And if you know TMM before we talk, that is not an automatic set process for Liverpool. There will be filtering, the Ian Grahams, the Spearmans, etc. now of the world will do their processes before we get to that stage. So the fact we know he's being scouted means there's something in it. So before Barts butchers his name and calls him a toasted tea cake, let's see for Hugo Ekitike, the French player, the forward who plays for Eintracht Frankfurt currently. Barts, Hugo Ekitike, what can you tell us?
So it's important to look at with a lot of the youngsters, right? Because he is still young. He's only 22, right?
Yeah.
You need to look at minutes played, all right? So he broke on the scene in the Danish Super League, 600 minutes in his first season at 18. Then he got transferred, played 88 minutes. He then played 1,200, just short of 1,200.
Yeah.
Then he's moved as a Paris Saint-Germain. Then another season with Paris Saint-Germain. He played 9 minutes, then moved on again to Bundesliga, where he only played 760. Then he's played a 13, nearly 1,300 minutes. So this is the highest amount of minutes he's played in a season. It's also he's won the league before, by the way, with PSG, which I know it's not hard, but he's made 24 starts for PSG before in a season. Remember, they got a shorter league than us, so that's quite a high proportion of their games. But for Frankfurt, he's made 18 starts. So in terms of minutes played, that's a good point. He's not been overused. Has he consistently put out the minutes? No. There's potential. Remember, we spoke about Gravenberg a little while ago about his minutes played. The fact that if you have 2 low minutes, then you try and do a high volume, it could lead to a longer term. So it'd be interesting to see how many minutes he does this season and what we can then do, because you're only supposed to increase by about 15, 25%. So a season in terms of minutes. So playing time, it's okay. I would have liked to have seen a bit more, considering some of our players are going to go for 5,000 minutes. That's gives you an indication of where he's at, right? So, but also it's about playing in Europe and the rest of it. So it's a little bit, it's opportunity as well.
Right.
So going to where we look at percentiles. So this is last year of data against other forwards in the league around the world. Should we say defensively, they're not that's a lot better than you expect. Interceptions and tackles is kind of passing, lane blocking. It's not and a bit of pressing, maybe the pressing going wrong, right? So it's that kind of accumulation. Blocks and clearances would be a little bit more just passing, lane blocking. But even there, he's not terrible. I mean, errors 52%. That's not bad defensively. Attacking wise, you want to see a bit more, but that's pretty good. So 85th and 90th percentile for interceptions and tackles. That's good for a forward. That's very, very good. We look at what does he do between the boxes. We always say that. What type of forward is he? Yeah. So this lad here is a carrier, because he's carrying the ball in the 89th percentile. He has 99 percentile successful take-ons for his position. So that's when he's taking a player on for a carry. And touches in the penalty box and attacking wise, that's nearly 7 a game. Now, for anyone who maybe will watch Stat Me Up, that's more penalty box touches than all of our forwards had against PSV, I think. So that's a good number to have. If you look at his passes, 73 isn't a bad number. It's not great, but if you're in the front zone, we want you to take risks. So I think off the top of my head, I think Chiesa ended up with about 70-odd percentage in the last game. So that's not a bad place to be at. Passes intensity, probably a little bit low. But so he's more of a carrier than a passer. But again, a good set of numbers there for a forward.
Yeah.
Now, when we look at what does he do in the box, he's got shot creating actions 3.9, nearly 4 a game. That's 94th percentile. He's got non-penalty XG and XA 93rd percentile. It's nearly 1 a game he's doing. If you look at assists, 87, that's 0.2. Shots, he's just below 4 a game, which is 92nd percentile. Remember, Chiesa had 2 in the last game.
Yeah.
Right? So non-penalty XG, 88th. Non-penalty goals, 85th. So these are good numbers for a forward. And if you want to look at a comparison, he plays down the middle from what you were telling me. So anybody's watched him. That is considering Jota's in the red. Okay, so what you're looking at there is a player who profiles very similarly to Diego Jota. Jota is better at passes attempted. Fair enough. He plays in more possession-based side. We are a dominant team in the league. Frankfurt are not. Progressive passes, Jota makes more of them. That's when he drops in and plays a ball. Whereas this lad probably is playing further forward by look of his stats to go for there. But everything else apart from blocks, he is on par with Jota. So that is a interesting and positive sign to look at. So if we then look at the stuff that I normally run for him, so I think he's playing at 7 here. Champions League game, I think it's a league game. Furthest forward of the formation in their passing, that's a good thing. Because of his high colour, like deep dot of a colour, that means there's a lot of XT being produced, which is good. So he's creating threat when he's in his areas, which is backed up by the carries and what he's doing with it. We look at for him to be that far forward and to be involved in terms of passing and touches that's what it's about 4 per about half the time in a 15-minute block is a good sign. So he's not completely isolated, which some of our forwards can be. He's involved in the play, okay? He's involved in low chain. That's fine. That's more to do with the team. That's not saying he can't do it. And he's 2 progressive passes in and around zone 14, which isn't, again, not a bad thing. If we look at what's he doing generally, 29 touches, that's good. Where are those touches, though? Just a quick look at the penalty box. So there's some good bits around there. Big chances created, that's good. What's he doing in terms of curation? So we look at EPV for him. He's generally in a good position. So he's not giving up or giving anything away, which is fine. So that's defensively. And if you look at, does he help his side out the other way? So he contributes to the team very effectively in terms of his areas where he's being asked to press. So he's been asked to press here in the front areas. So that's 7%, which is nearly all of the front of the press, apart from the right side space, which he might drop to. So, there is a lot to like on who scored the only one of the few goals in the game. Scored the opener, to be fair, so that's pretty good position to be in. In terms of his shot locations in between the box, only took a few on this game, so that's fine. But I would suggest there's a lot to like in this lad in terms of involvement, in terms of what he does on and off the ball, compared with some of the other players. And that profile, as I said, that is remarkably that's a good profile to be looking at if we are to enter the market. I don't know what the price is like for the player, but considering they've just sold one of their other players, so that would be they're not short of cash, so they probably could have bought what they wanted for him. But I think there's a lot of good signs there. Very pleasing with the percentile he appears in. The only slight hesitancy I would have would be about the minutes played, which would need to come up substantially for Liverpool, because we fundamentally, if he's going to start for us, he's going to need to play a lot more minutes than he has done in his career, which would be a substantial jump. So where he finishes this season is a good indicator of how much he could jump, which gives you an idea about whether he could start. the majority of games, whether it be a rotation option. So yeah, but in terms of the profile, looks an interesting one. If it's a low level cheap punt, then yeah, I could see how that could work out.
I think though they might be famous last words on this, Barts, because I think you nailed it. And shout out to Ben Boxer because he put this article out, and we naturally went sort of speaking around as we do to analyst journals and say, yeah, Liverpool have been looking at this player a long time and are still looking at him importantly, which is quite distinct. Nothing really hot on this. I suppose the one bit I wanted to ask you about, Barts, as we put it together normally on TMM, he's just signed for Frankfurt last summer, so he's got 4 years left on his deal. Exactly as you said, Marcus Crozier is known as a good negotiator, the sporting director there. And also, everyone will be familiar with Frankfurt tax on forwards. They'll be thinking back to Luka Jovic and how he was sold for a fortune. It didn't work out. They'll be thinking back to Muani, who was sold for an absolute fortune for PSV and is now on PSG, is now on loan at Juventus in this regard. They'll be thinking Marmoush will be one to watch as well, how he does in his 6 months at City remaining in the season. So it is difficult. There is the Bundesliga tax, which people will talk about as well. I think that the danger is with that, when you sort of stack it up, Barts, on everything, they are going to be asking for huge money. Now, if we were talking huge money, and I know we've profiled people like João Pedro and ones we like, etc. before, if it is as suggested with certain things, and it's difficult to place a yardstick on this, but if it is north of, say, 70, 80 million, I know the profile tips there, but I'm probably seeing by your face question marks about his physicality as well. You mentioned the minutes, but his frame is slight compared to Liverpool forwards. Would that be too rich for your blood, do you think?
That's a lot of money for a fella, for a forward that's not played that much. That's if he had 3,000 minutes this season and he's still in those high percentiles.
Yeah,
I could see that. And I know that the market's nuts now,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about players going for obscene amounts of money who are, I mean, I'm not knocking the lad at Bournemouth, the left back, but if he's going for one season in the Premier League and he's going for 50, 40 million is being quoted, that gives you an idea about the prices being banded around. But yeah, that would be a bit toppy for me, I have to say. I think you could get better value for £70 million. I really do. Even some of the lads we've already done on TMN over the past time, you might be better off invested in one of those. I'm not saying pay £70 million for Kittens, for example. Is it Kittens? The Dortmund, but his profile was exciting for left winger as it was at the time. That and he's younger and he's played more minutes, so. Yeah, for that amount of minutes, I would be struggling a little bit with that price. But again, it's not my money. I don't know. I don't know what the market's like. I don't know how you structure the deal. It could be like a real low amount up front and it goes forward. So, and you could get one a low wage. I mean, they're saying on here he's only on, what's the saying? He's only on €67. So that's remarkably cheap. I mean, yes, you'd have to upgrade it to come to Liverpool, but yeah, the total package could be low if your wages are low. You pay, I think 70 million would be a bit toppy, but we'll see. He's got a good profile, yes. £70 million profile, not so sure.